Happy midnight, everybody. The moon is shining, so I hope each and every one of you is smiling. Welcome to Skyfall episode 10, and can you guys believe it? We are in double-digit episode numbers. That's just insane. It's been such a wild journey here on Skyfall SMP, so thanks to everyone who's joined me on it. Now, right now, we are standing in front of the Super Smelter Temple that we built in last episode. And I just want to say a big thank you to all of you guys who left such positive comments on the video. It's always encouraging to hear that you guys are enjoying what I build here on the Skyfall SMP. Now, if you made it to the end of last video, you guys know that today we are undertaking the daunting task of making a wither skeleton farm. It's going to be quite a grind, and in fact, I'm recording this clip on the same day that episode 9 came out because I know we're going to have a lot of work to do, and we just really need to get started. So, with that being said, I am very eager to get this undertaking started. Now, before we get going with our wither skeleton farm, I thought I would catch you guys up with some base additions that have been made in between episodes. However, these base additions were not made by me. Someone has been by to install a friend. We have a brand new friend over here at our villager trading hall. I have no idea who made this, but it looks just downright goofy. I love it. In fact, when I first saw it, I thought it was a crab because these eyes kind of remind me of a crab face. But now I think I see there's a mustache right here and some buck teeth. This is just hilarious. And there's also a sign, so let's go ahead and read that. I lava your mustache. So I actually think that narrows it down to 2 potential people who made this. I think this was made either by Honey Rose Quartz or by a new member by the name of Vane, and there's a funny story behind it. Basically, Vane is a new member on the SMP, and Honey was giving her a tour of the server, and so Honey Rose Quartz took Vane over to my base to kind of show her my area. And while she was here, Vane fell into one of these lava pits right here and died and lost all of her stuff. The funniest part was, I just happened to log on at the perfect moment. I just logged onto the server in my villager trading hall, and the very first thing I see was this entire event unfolding. It was quite hilarious, and it made for a great introduction to our new server member. I will say, though, there's no better place to die and lose all your items than in the base of the Lunarmory CEO. And I did replace her stuff for her because I felt really bad about her dying. But yeah, I'm guessing it was either Honey or Vane who built this awesome face here, and thank you to whoever it was. I'll probably take it down eventually, but it'll stick around for at least a little while. But funny faces aside, we better get started with this wither skeleton farm, so let's head on into the nether and check out our scouted location. Alright, so here we are in the nether, and immediately outside of the portals from 12K Gang, there is this huge nether fortress, and this is actually our location for our wither skeleton farm. Now yes, I did check with the other members of 12K Gang to make sure that they approved of this project, and they gave me the go-ahead. They're totally okay if we build our wither skeleton farm here. Now, why this fortress? Why did I choose this as the location? Let's pop into free cam and I can maybe explain myself better. Down here, right here is the precise location of the wither skeleton farm. Now, not only have I noticed that this crossroads gets a lot of wither skeleton rates, but it's also directly next to this blaze spawner. So this is not going to be your grandma's average wither skeleton farm. I don't know why your grandma would have a wither skeleton farm. She's a pretty cool grandma if she does. But anyways, we're going to be doing a combo blaze and wither skeleton farm. The reason being that mobs that come from mob spawners do not affect the mob cap in any way, meaning that we'll be able to take full advantage of both wither skeleton rates and blaze rates. So somewhere in between this crossroads and the blaze spawner, we're going to have our killing chamber, and we're going to flush the blaze into that killing chamber and also lure the wither skeletons into that same chamber. So we're going to get them all together on one block and then kill them. So from this single farm, we're going to obtain wither skeleton drops as well as blaze drops. I'm very, very excited for this project. I've been planning it for quite some time now, and I think it's going to pose a unique challenge, but hopefully by the end, we're going to have a really cool combination farm. Right here is a prime example of the raids. I mean, just look at how many wither skeletons are right here already. Now, as I'm sure many of you know, the biggest challenge of creating a wither skeleton farm is the spawn proofing. And the basic theory behind spawn proofing is that if Minecraft can't spawn mobs anywhere else other than your farm, then your farm is going to be absolutely full of mobs. But what this essentially entails is that we're going to have to take away all the other possible spawning locations for any mob within a 128 block radius. Now, to help with this task, I've gone ahead and installed ManyHUD, and if we press R, we can see this is the radius around our farm, and we are going to have to spawn proof every possible spawning spot within this sphere right here. As you can see, it's a quite massive area, and we're basically going to be placing slabs for several hours. Now, an added bonus of the location we've chosen is that it's in the middle of a warped forest, and this warped warp block, this one right here, this is a naturally spawn-proof block, so we don't have to do any spawn-proofing on the tops of these trees, only on the nylium below and any netherrack or basalts in the area. All of the nether mobs are already really annoying me. I went ahead and made a bow. It's called Moonstriker, and this is for taking out all of the blaze and ghasts that are going to be spawning. And I missed. So anyways, yeah, that is the current task ahead of us. We need to slab up everything within this sphere. Now, we are going to need a crazy amount of stone to get all of the slabbing done. So I'm going to pop on by to Corrupted's new rock shop called Bill's Boulders. This is Big Nose Bill out here, I believe. Yeah, Big Nose Bill. Hello, Big Nose Bill. And we're going to go ahead and buy up a ton of stone if he has any. And look at that. He is selling 9 stacks for 1 diamond. I'm going to need to grab some shulker boxes. And in fact, I think I'm going to fill all 3 of these up with stone just because I know we're going to need so much of it. And just like that, we have 3 entire shulker boxes of stone, and I don't even know if this is going to be enough. We might be back in this rock shop buying even more. But big thank you to Corrupted for making this shop. It's been a lifesaver. Let's go ahead and mine up these shulker boxes and get back to our base. We are now back at our Nether Fortress location, and it's time to get slabbing. This is going to be far and away the most time-consuming part of the project, but there's no use putting it off. It needs to get done. Let's just do it. Hit a time lapse. It or not, I think I am totally done. Now, of course, here and there's going to be a few blocks that I just missed, and those might be spawnable, and I'll do my best to go and find some of those and patch them up when I discover them. But for the most part, we have all of this spawn-proofed, and it actually didn't take as long as I thought it would. Don't get me wrong, this did not happen overnight. I have been working on this for several days, but it wasn't an eternity like I was afraid it might be. And now that the slabbing is all done and dusted, it's time to turn our attention to the actual making of the farms, and we're going to start with the Blaze farm right here. Now, we have a bit of an odd situation down here. Spawners like this one have a 16 block activation radius, which means that the player has to be within 16 blocks of this in order for it to be spawning Blaze. Regular mobs, on the other hand, such as wither skeletons, will not spawn unless the player is at least 24 blocks away. So we have kind of this weird conflicting interests where we have to be at least within 16 blocks of this, but no closer than 24 blocks of the platform in order to get both of them to spawn. It's a bit of a problem. Alright guys, I have something to show you. It might be a little bit crazy to look at, but just bear with me. Let's go ahead and hop into here. So here we have both spheres rendered. Now, the red sphere is centered on the crossroads, and if we are within this red sphere, no wither skeletons are going to spawn on the crossroads. The blue sphere represents the activation radius of the blaze spawner, and if we're outside of the blue one, then no blaze are going to spawn. So what we need to do is we need to find some space where we can stand and have our killing platform that's within the blue sphere, but outside of the red sphere. Now again, I'm sorry, I know this is kind of crazy to look at, but if you can tell, over here we have an area that's within the blue sphere, but outside of the red sphere. This is exactly what we want, and this is where we need to build our AFK/killing platform. Alright, so our AFK platform has now been determined. Now comes the issue of finding some way to get all the mobs exactly where we want them. Up at top, I'm just going to have a standard blaze spawner, so it's going to be a big, basically glass cube. It'll push all the blazes into a middle drop chute. And from there, it should be fairly straightforward to push the blaze over using lava streams so we can get them in a drop chute right here. Now, for the wither skeletons, it'll be slightly more complicated, but basically we are going to use their aggro mechanics. They get mad at piglins when they see them, so we'll get a couple of piglins in place that will lure them in, and then we'll slowly funnel them also along to the same drop chute, and hopefully both the blaze and the wither skeletons will end up right here in front of us for us to kill. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and construct up the blaze farm, and then we can get a drop chute going and see what happens after that. Alright, I'm a little embarrassed to admit, but I forgot to hit record for the blaze farm, but don't worry, you guys didn't miss much. It was basically just a 15-minute build, and here it is. We now have an operational blaze farm. In terms of decoration, we just have a pretty simple glass kind of mosaic that mimics fire, and I currently have it plugged up so that the blazes aren't coming out, but they will eventually fall down this chute and be pushed by the lava down to our killing area. Now, for the wither skeleton portion of this farm, we need to somehow get wither skeletons to spawn over here, and then get to our little drop chute right here. So how I'm planning to pull this off is that we'll have some spawning platforms starting with this dirt line and kind of extending backwards. We'll have 2 on either side, and as I mentioned earlier, we're going to use piglins to take advantage of the wither skeleton aggro mechanics. So on both the spawning platforms, we'll have a piglin about here. All the skeletons will run toward him, and they will then fall onto a track like this one right here. We'll have another piglin at the end so that they'll run along, and eventually we're just going to have them make their way over to this killing chamber. So I am going to get to work setting that up, and this time I will remember to press record. So enjoy the time lapse of me building up the wither skeleton farm. Ladies and gentlemen, I proudly present to you my combination wither skeleton and blaze farm all in one. I'll be honest, I was a little unsure whether or not this plan would actually work, but as you can see, it worked. We were successfully able to consolidate both the blaze and wither skeleton spawns onto this single platform, and the killing platform is 3 blocks wide, which is the exact swing length of Sweeping Edge 3 enchantment on the sword. So we are able to hit all of the mobs all at once, no matter what, except kind of when they're jumping like that. Now, how is this farm working? Well, we'll pop into FreeCam and check it out. We have our blaze spawner that I showed you guys earlier. That's just pretty standard. It flushes the blaze towards the middle, and then they come along this track down to our killing chamber. As for the wither skeletons, we have these 2 spawning platforms right back here, and you guys can see it working. Basically, they get mad at these zombie piglins, they run towards them, and they fall into this long hallway. They eventually lose aggro on this guy and get mad at this one. So then they walk down this way. In fact, we can see it happen. So they're going to stay a little bit aggroed for him for just a little while, but then they eventually move on to this guy. They fall down and the process repeats. We just keep using this same aggro mechanic to move them along until they reach this final stage where they fall down into our killing platform. And as you guys saw earlier, this was really tough to pull off. We have to be far enough away from these spawning platforms for the wither skeletons to spawn, but close enough to activate this blaze spawner. Now, taking a look at the decorated interior, I really like the way it turned out. We're using a lot of black stone, but I think it goes really nicely with the mangrove wood, some of these crimson warped blocks, and some soul lanterns. We're also using plenty of wither skeleton skulls as decoration throughout, which I think looks amazing, and it's kind of a flex. Now this left hallway, it's a little bit awkward. This is just where I can access the redstone. So these are the sorting units that sort through all the drops of the farm. And you can see I've actually used diamonds as the filter item in each and every one of these. Now, item sorters require that you have at least 41 of the item in it for it to start actually working. So the next 9 wither skeleton skulls that we get are going to go into the item sorter rather than into the chest below. But after that, we will start accumulating all of the wither skeleton skulls. Which brings us down to this right wing of the hallway. This is where our storage is sorted. So our first chest, this is going to be for the wither skeleton skulls. Next up, we have 2 blaze rod chests, followed by 2 coal chests, and then 2 bones chests. And the last one is for blaze heads. I had almost forgotten that we have the data pack where mobs drop their heads, which means we actually have to have a sorter dedicated to blaze heads, which I had totally neglected. Now, for any of the items that aren't sorted into these, which is basically just the stone swords that the skeletons drop, they go all the way over here into this dropper, and they're immediately spat into a little lava cauldron so that they're voided. So that is my brand new farm. I'm just thrilled with the way it turned out. It was quite a challenge to design and kind of conceptualize, and I couldn't really practice in creative, so I kind of just had to give it my go in survival, not knowing whether or not it would work. But it did in the end, and we were able to overcome all the obstacles along the way, and now I have this super cool, one-of-a-kind blaze and wither skeleton combo farm. Now, there is one more change that we need to make in order to get this farm operating at its full speed. Now, that last thing is that we need to go ahead and spawn-proof the tops of all of these warped trees. Now, I know what you're going to say. Moonshine, didn't you say that the warped warp blocks are spawn-proof? Yeah, well,
I lied.
it wasn't on purpose, though. I just made a mistake. I don't know why I got it in my head that they were spawn-proof blocks, but they're actually not entirely spawn-proof. And I've seen plenty of Endermen spawning on these, as well as the occasional zombie pigmen. And basically, every time that a mob spawns outside of our farm, it decreases the rates from inside the farm. So we are going to need to go ahead and spawn-proof all of these trees. However, I am going to save that for off-camera because you guys have seen enough slabbing. I've done enough slabbing. And I really want to get this episode out, so I'll just do that in between episodes, and hopefully by next episode, this farm will be functioning even faster. For now, though, let's go ahead and do a 1-hour AFK test of the farm as it is right now, just so you guys can get a rough idea of just how powerful this thing is. I, myself, am super excited to see the results. So yeah, let's do a quick little montage of me killing lots of things. Alright, so we have now been running this farm for just about an hour. Alright, so why don't we go ahead and check the profits from that 1 hour of AFK, starting with Wither Skulls. Nice, we got 12. And if you guys recall, our filter wasn't quite full, so the first couple of skulls went into the filter. We probably got about 24 skulls in total from that 1 hour of AFK. Moving on, we have Blaze Rods. That's plenty of Blaze Rods for 1 hour, in my opinion. Coal, same with coal, and bones. That's not bad at all. And again, we are going to be speeding this farm up in between episodes when I go ahead and spawn-proof all of those warped trees behind me. Now, we have been in the nether working on this all episode, and I'm getting pretty hot. It is hot in here. And what better way to cool off than at an ice boat raceway? That is right, we are going to be finishing off today's episode with a few laps at Swani's brand new Formula 1 racetrack. And if at all possible, I really want to set a course record, but we'll see. Let's actually check out the times that have already been run. Awesome. So it looks like the fastest right now is Not a Friend's run with 56 blocks. This course uses a block timer, so the longer you take, the more blocks flow into the chests. So 56 blocks, that is the speed to beat. Now, you are allowed to do warm-up runs, so I'm going to take a couple of practice laps around the track to familiarize myself with it, and then I say we do a timed run.
Never break, always always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life, I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, put your hand to the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light, ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel, I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real, but how's it supposed to feel?
All right, time to see how fast that lap was. 64 and 38. That's not great. Look at that. We actually tied Burkle exactly. We don't know the fastest, but we'll go ahead and record our run in the ledger, and maybe one day we can come back and set a course record. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude today's episode. I put a lot of time and effort into this video, so I really do hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did enjoy, feel free to leave a like and subscribe, but no worries if not. As always, I have some exciting plans for next episode, and I look forward to seeing you all then. In the meantime, be happy, everybody. And until next time, shine on, little stars. Shine on.